All right, for the last section then, just finished talking about mercantilism and capitalism and mother countries and trade voyages. So then the idea of trade voyages, like I told you here, it could be England all the way to um, India, could be all sorts of stuff like that. So that brings you to the next section then. What people would do is they'd organize companies together. They would get people together and they would buy and sell goods. You would get these big ginormous trade voyages together, and you had to have money to do these trade voyages. So you had to get investors. That's where they started this whole idea of joint stock companies. And a joint stock company is people that would join together in a business venture, and each person that joined the business venture received a stock or a piece of paper telling how much money they had invested. So say, for instance, each person invested $10,000, and with those $10,000, maybe you had 10 people invested, and so then the large amount of money, 10,000 times 10 would be $100,000. That $100,000 would be part of the company's capital. So then that $100,000 would be invested into the trade voyage. So here you go, the company used the money to finance a business venture. So if I'm one of the 10 people that invests $10,000 into a business voyage or a trade voyage, and then I take and get all the goodies that were out there to pay for, or to get all the goodies that my business voyage went and got. So say, for instance, we're in England, we go all the way into India, we buy 50,000 items. I don't care. Silk ties. Let's use just something that you can actually deal with. So 50,000 silk ties, and then I can bring that back to England and sell each one. I don't know, ties are expensive, but I'm going to use simple math here. I'm going to say $10 a tie. So you get 50,000 ties at 10,000 or $10 a piece. I believe you're looking at $500,000. So that would be economically what we say is the revenue. That's the money that they took in. But now the company had to pay its bills. So they used the capital of $100,000, and now they have to, they made their trade voyage, they have their goods, they sold their goods. Now they got $50,000, they have $50,000, I'm sorry, $500,000 that they made in revenue. Remember what their bill was? Their bill was $100,000, so $500,000 minus $100,000 equals, after costs and paying all their sailors and all their other junk, then they had $400,000 worth of profit. If you remember, with the $400,000 worth of profit, there were 10 guys that invested into this, $10,000. 400,000 divided by 10, each investor is going to get a payday. That payday is called a dividend. So you take the amount of money that was profited, 400,000, divide it amongst the investors, which was 10, and the dividend, or the profit that each individual investor is going to make, is $40,000. Now, as an investor, if you can take $10,000 and turn it into $40,000 as an investor and not do a whole lot of work and make $30,000, that's not bad. There were a lot of companies that decided to do these business voyages, these trade voyages. You had the India East Company, the Dutch East India Company, and the Company of New France. So I got listed here all these different companies, and you can kind of look at what we're talking about. First, you got the East India Company, and it says right here, known as the Honorable East India Company, informally as John Company, and later as the British Joint Stock Company, whatever. They did a lot of trading back and forth with China. Okay, and you can see that. Go to Wikipedia, read more if you want. You went down here, and you go to the East India Company, and here's an example, the East India Company, which might be the same one as this, also known as the Honorable, whatever, blah, blah, blah. This was founded by John Watts. Actually, these are the same thing. Founded by John Watts, way back where? What? Yeah, 1600. It ceased its operations in 1874. I wonder how much they made. So that is one long running company, 274 years. Its headquarters were located in London, England. You got down here the Dutch East India Company. So today Thursday, we talked about how the Dutch had a whole lot of, got out to all over the world, and they invested. The Dutch made it all the way to Japan. The Dutch also were down in the Philippines, Java, Sumatra. In this case, the Dutch East India Company, they made it all the way around here, and they did a bunch of stuff in India. So it was founded by Johan van whatever, Oldenbarnevelt, and it was started in 1602, and its headquarters were in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Just under 200 years later, it ceased to exist. So, again, long-standing. And another one was from France. This was the company of 100 associates. Must have been about 100 guys that invested in trade voyages, maybe in North America. Looks like North America here. It started in 1627, and then they went to North America. They did fur trade and made a whole boatload of money. Cardinal Richelieu, he is a main feature early on in France as a second-in-command kind of guy during the age of absolutism with one of the Louis. I can't remember if it's Louis the 13th or Louis the 14th in France. We'll talk about him in the next chapter with the age of absolutism. So this kind of stuff went on. You know, it existed. It was big time. You know, they made a lot of money. You got to invest money to make money. You got to spend money to make money. So anyways, with all the risk, you know, we talk about there's risk. There's risk with trading and starting way up here in England and selling. And you could, you know, your ship might get lost. It might go the wrong direction. It might sink. It might get hijacked by pirates. So it's kind of like cars. You know, you guys know this probably very well at your age. You have to have on your car insurance. Insurance is expensive. And all your parents are loving the fact that you have to pay insurance on your vehicles. So this is where something comes up with this idea of Lloyd's of London. They actually were an underwriter. I got to get to that a little bit later. Make sure you read this right here. Look at this. With the joint stock companies, we talk about it gathering investors. And sometimes they do that by, you know, talking to their friends and getting their friends to invest a certain amount of money. Another way to gather investors was by means of something called a prospectus. And a prospectus were the details of a business proposition. It says it's a printed document that advertises or describes a school or a commercial empire or whatever in order to attract clients. So what they would do, you know what it's like when you go to the grocery store and there's a big piece of paper that it says driving school or babysitters needed or summer jobs, looking for summer employment, and then they got the little things cut at the bottom, look like little mini fingers with telephone numbers on them, and you pull one off and then you go home and you make the phone number, maybe call the phone number. Well, that's kind of an example of what like a prospectus is. On the top, it tells you what it is that you're going to be doing. And the bottom, it tells you who to contact. Our prospectus is a description of a business opportunity. And so then you get this prospectus, and it tells you what you're investing in if you decide to invest. And then you can get into a business voyage like this, or a trade voyage, and you can have the opportunity to invest some money in a trade voyage and then get your dividend back, your profit. So make sure you read this section. And the last, like I said here, we're talking about the underwriters. Am I at the last one? Yeah, I'm at the last slide. Talking about your underwriters. Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's of London is probably the world's oldest insurance company, because there was always a risk of losing everything if your boat sunk. Lloyd's of London is an insurance company in England. You can do a quick search on it. They manage risk. They are an insurance company that still exists today. They've been around for nearly 400 years. I got a little video down here if you want to go to it and talk about it, see what Lloyd's of London has. Feel free to do that later, but I want to explain what an underwriter is. So a method in which people would help finance a business venture was the prospectus, but on the other hand, you had to worry about losing all your goods. So if it was a success, then you'd share the profits. If it was a failure, then everybody that invested had to take the loss. It's from that practice of losing that people then would invest in something known as an underwriter, which is used to describe an insurance company. Lloyd's of London was started in 1688. It still exists in London today as an insurance company. They would underwrite, kind of like a net, a safety net, that if the business venture would lose money, the insurance company would pay all the losses. If they were successful, then maybe they would be awarded a certain amount of money. Kind of like in car insurance. You got car insurance. You pray you never have to use that car insurance. You hope you never get in an accident. I have been in one tiny accident in all the years that I've been driving, and for 25 years I have faithfully paid my insurance in and not incurred any losses. So your assignment that you got here for today, I'm basically done. I'm not going to review. There's not enough time to. You've got the assignment that I gave you in class on Thursday with all the explorers, where they sailed to, what they found, and who they sailed from. That is due on Monday. The other portion of your assignment is a quiz on the reading and on the notes. Chapter 13, Lesson 3. That also is due on Monday. Have a great weekend. Don't do anything stupid. We'll talk to you later.